So back in 2007, in a faraway land called Massachusetts, I first met a nice gentleman named Robert Murch. I thought he was nice at the time. Now I know better. But I was working on a book, and I was really professional because I was trying to make a good impression. I gave up on good impressions a long time ago too, but it was amazing. I remember being interested in the Ouija board, just the history of it. And back in 2007, do you hear voices? I do too. So I just remember he was such a wealth of information, and his collection was amazing. This was years ago, by the way. I'm sure it's tripled by then. But since then, I've been fortunate to be on the speaking circuit with Murch and just see him evolve as not just, I mean, he was always a historian, but evolve as a speaker and personality. But his passion for the board has only grown. It was big in 2007, and I can tell you today, there's no cure. He's going to die from this sickness that he has. And it's such an incredible thing. It was a year ago, he asked me to help get involved with this Ouijacon, 125th birthday. And I remember thinking, that's unique, that's different. And it's been amazing to see this whole thing come together. The museum is now open. We forgot to open it this morning, apologies. But feel free between the talks to wander through there and check out the boards and take pictures, because this is unique. Not only has there never been a collection like this put together, but the people too, the whole perspective of Ouija, from the history before, during, after, the spiritual aspect of it, the dangerous aspect of it, the skeptical view of the whole thing. What an incredible opportunity this whole weekend is. So Murch, again, congratulations on putting this thing together. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Murch.
Thank you all so much for coming. As I mentioned before, if you heard me, this was a dream of mine, and this is 125 years in the making. So something that started 125 years ago. I often wonder whether the people who conceived of this and who started to manufacture it ever thought, here we be in the city where it started, celebrating its 125th anniversary. I can't believe they thought it would ever be this popular. And for those of you who are here, it's so nice that people have been so great congratulating me on this, but this isn't just me, this is a lot of people. This is the Talking Board Historical Society, all its directors, the city. It's amazing how many pieces it takes to put something like this together. So, thank you for coming. It wouldn't happen without you guys buying tickets. And again, the Talking Board Historical Society is a nonprofit. And that means that all the money that you guys paid for your tickets or buying the t-shirts that you've been buying, it all goes towards putting up plaques, helping us research, helping us celebrate and mark this unique piece of history. Because how many people in here have ever played the Ouija board? A lot of people. Now, how many people have just heard bad things about it? Just bad, awful, evil, right? And you still play? What's wrong with you? No, I'm just kidding. No, of course, we always do the things that we're told we shouldn't do. The minute someone tells me not to do it, I'm going to do that. So, I know, and anyone who knows me knows that's true too. Someone was just saying to me that I don't pay attention to the rules, and I was like, rules? What's that mean? So, and you'll learn that as we go, because I'm going to take you on an adventure through time. I've been doing this, I started collecting in 1992. I found an amazing website, I think, circa 1995, called the Museum of Talking Boards, and we actually have Gene Orlando in the audience, which is really cool for me, because this man is a mentor. It's his fault that I'm sitting up here talking to you. Everything that I do, I blame on him, and he's right there, so Gene, wave your hands and say hello to everybody. As I tell people, he didn't just plant a seed, he kicked me in the pants quite a few times. So, it's been a cool journey to share with him. And he comes all the way from the other coast, so it's also cool. But when you get a chance, check out the museumoftalkingboards.com. It was the very first website when the web was like nothing. There was nothing on there. Talking to him about the early days of the site moving and becoming what it is today. It is the resource on the web. You can't get around it. So I'm sure if any collectors in the audience, we've all been there. We were talking about it earlier, that we used to print out his gallery page and use them as a checklist. So, oh, he's got this board, we want this board, we want this board. And so now I know that he was playing with us, that he put these boards up there that we would either never find or were super, and he would, do things and we'd go out searching for it. So he's been playing with us for some time. So thank you, Gene, for everything. Appreciate it. So here we go. We're going to start this. 125 years. Oh my God. Okay. How many people saw Ouija the movie? That's very cool. How many people have not seen it? Okay, like $1.50 at Redbox. What's the problem here? Yes, so it's a teeny bopper movie. It was a horror movie. Really cool thing about this movie, I got a chance to consult on it. So, and got to see some of the things that I suggested actually show up. Some of the coolest things in there I'd love to take credit for. They were not my idea, but they were neat. And having a movie be all about the thing you love is amazing. And to get a chance to be part of that is even cooler. So this movie that cost $5 million to make, in January, just before the DVD released, hit 100 million. So huge hit for Hasbro and Universal, which told them people are still really interested in the Ouija board, that there's something about it that's capturing people's attention worldwide. So we're gonna start today. The movie explores what a majority of people believe happens, or could happen, when you play the board. So I'm gonna show you today. This is where we're at today, and then we'll go back.
What's going on? I just don't want to go out tonight. Are you sure you don't want to come? I'm good. Go have fun. Ever feel like even after someone you love has died, there's still a way you can talk to them?
You want to talk to Debbie?
Yeah. This is where Debbie died.
I don't think this is a good idea.
As friends we've gathered, hearts are true, spirits near we call to you. If you can hear us, Debbie, I miss you.
Calm down. It's an old house.
This is a joke.
Come on, you guys. Who's doing it?
Sarah, cut it out. I'm not pushing it.
Just spelled hi, friend.
Okay, this is freaking me out. I'm done with this.
I wanted to get this on camera. I found something in my house. Weird things started happening as soon as I found the board.
Debbie found the board in her house. She woke something up.
Is somebody there? This thing, it's haunting us.
Hello?
It's coming for all of us. So who's next?
How do we stop this?
You have to break the connection, or it will keep coming for you.
We have to play the game again. One last time. As friends we gathered, hearts are true. Spirits near we call. Can you show us tonight? Did you kill Debbie? We're done! We're not playing anymore! It's not even real, okay?
I hate when that happens. Now, so they explored some things. Now, Gene also coined a term called Ouijasticians, which has now kind of spread everywhere. And these are urban legends that have grown up specific to the Ouija board. Now, the movie did something really cool. It added a couple more. Up until now, we'd never heard of looking through the planchette to see the ghosts. And the writers said to me at the end of the movie, you know, that was a great idea you came up with to use the window to be the eye to the other side. And I said, I agree, it was an amazing idea. It totally wasn't mine. It was actually, so the people who saw the movie opens with two of the main characters playing it as little girls. And what happened was, these two little girls were brought in. They had no idea what the Ouija board was or why you would use it or what they were doing there. And you know, everyone's on set they're being very careful. Their parents are there trying to scare them. And we explained to them, I'm doing Skype, and we explained to them what is gonna happen? And a little girl picks up the planchette and she starts looking. And they ask her, what are you doing? And she said, I'm looking through the eye to the other side to see the ghost. Bingo. So sometimes things are very organic and are cool, but now, since this movie's come out, I have seen tons of people picking up the planchette looking. Now, I'll tell you this, if you use the classic version that they use, be careful. There's a little plastic piece that pokes out, and I wondered immediately how many lawsuits are gonna be there from the, ugh, you know. But it was really cool. And the other thing was, how many people have ever heard of saying a prayer before you use the board, kind of to protect yourself? So they took that idea and made a little rhyme. And now, again, I've been to quite a few paranormal conferences afterwards, and when we start doing it, without me saying anything, they start that little thing. So they added two really neat things to Ouija culture. So, kind of, what is a Ouija expert, and is it something to be proud of? You know, you will decide. But so I started in 1992. In 1997, I started my own website. It was horrible. I don't know if everyone remembers the web in 1997, but I was like, ooh, animated GIFs and these torches that flickered, and like, hopefully none of you ever saw this. The name of the website was Ouija Witch's Wonderful World of Talking Boards. Yeah, like, what was I thinking? And thankfully it's down and no one's ever seen it. So I also got a chance to make a spirit board out of Salem, Massachusetts called Cryptique. So I've not just been on the research and collecting side, I've also been on the manufacturing side. I run a website called williamfold.com. So most people know the name William Fold is very synonymous with the Ouija board. We're gonna find out why. I've got a chance to work on many television shows and films, consulting and doing all kinds of neat things. And as Jeff said, I've been interviewed for books, and that's always cool. We have a collectors page on Facebook. So if there's any collectors I haven't met or talked to, we're always looking to add them. So if you're out there, look us up, Ouija Collectors Group on Facebook. Use Ancestry.com, because as you'll see, in order to piece together this history, I rely heavily on Ancestry and newspaper websites. All of these different things help us paint the pictures. This is a cool little thing here we'll get into. We, as the TBHS, were able to put a stone in. So many people here, Greenmount Cemetery, ever heard of that before? So there's a great stone there. Back in 2008, we also worked with the city to dedicate the Hartford factory, the biggest Ouija factory in Baltimore. Became a historic landmark there, and we're going to do some more historic stuff a little later. Consulted on TAPS, Paranormal State, Ghost Adventures, and so is being a Ouija expert something to be proud of? And you know, when you ask that question, I might say, oh, I've gotten a chance to do all these cool things, you know, I'm awesome, this is great. But the truth is, you know, you have to center yourself, right? You know, when your head to get too big. So I'm Jewish, I have a Jewish mother. Right? Like anyone has a Jewish mother, they know she's going to tell you the truth, whether it hurts. So you guys are going to meet my mom. So she's going to tell you what she thinks when I asked her, this is a very honest first take, whether it was something to be proud of. So
I want to let you know that we have put our son through many colleges. He has worked for some very prestigious companies, and he has been filmed by Chronicle in Massachusetts about double lives. Double lives? His life is a Ouija expert. Never in my life did I ever think that my son would be known as a Ouija expert. But I want you to know, we've spent lots of money educating him, and now he educates everybody in the United States about Ouija boards. We're so proud.
So there you go. There's my mom, Carol Sapol. Couldn't be here. She's here in spirit, so there you go. That's what she thinks of what I did. Now, here's cool. This is my license plate. We have a few other Ouija collectors who got this. When I first got this, I fought for this plate. They didn't want to give it to me. It was seen as offensive. And so it took a long time. It took the mayor of my city in Peabody, Massachusetts, to intervene to help me get this plate. Now, I got the plate, and about a year went by, and I'm thinking, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, vanity plates are big, right? How many people have vanity plates here? Yeah, like you see them all the time. But everyone's beeping and laughing and pointing, and I'm thinking, what the hell is such a big deal? And then someone yells it out. So it says Ouija or Ouija, but underneath it, it says the spirit of America, which is the tagline of my state. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I meant that. So the Ouija board was the first wireless communication device, right? The first text messages come through the Ouija board. And it's pretty cool. And look, I've often wondered, and we're very concerned. The movie did something unique. In this world of swiping and tapping, and everyone's got an iPad. Put an iPad in front of a 2-year-old and they know how to use it. How is the Ouija board going to fit in today's society of the digital age? How is it going to work? And that movie actually brought an entirely new generation to the board, and that's pretty important to me. So it's really neat. But people always ask the same thing. So why is the Ouija board still so popular? And after the movie came up, by the way, Google tracking showed that people searching for the Ouija board went up 500%. And that it was in the top 5 games bought for Christmas last year. I mean, that's huge, right? But why? I mean, a movie can't do that much, right? But it comes down to numbers. I work in the investment field. It's always numbers. So if we look at this here, Samsung Galaxy S6, $199, 2-year contract. We've all get stuck into those. iPhone 6, pretty much the same thing. But cool thing at Ouija board, $19.99, unlimited calling plan to the other side. There's no overages, there's no roaming. But if you look in your contract, it's right here, besides selling your immortal soul, it's just a small little clip there. But that's why I think the Ouija board is still so popular. Now, people are scared of 2 things I found when it comes to the Ouija board. And I fall in one camp, and I think most people fall in another. How many people believe there's a possibility of opening up a door to something negative? That it's possible. Okay. I fall in another camp, and I'm going to show you afterwards. I was lucky enough to consult in season 2 of Supernatural. How many Supernatural fans are out there? Awesome show. In season 2, first episode was My Time of Dying, and the character Dean is in a coma. And the show called me up and said, we want to use a Ouija board. And I'm like, don't use the word. Hasbro really doesn't like that. I gave him a couple of ideas, and then he came back to me and said, we're going to make it so that we contact Dean in a coma. So he's dying. Could he use the Ouija board? And I'm like, sure, cool, that's great. I've never heard of that before. Go for it. And I said, well, there probably isn't going to be, a second season. And so they were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, the first season is airing right now. It's a little rocky, right? And they're like, yeah, well, okay, season 10, 11 we're up to right now. So they don't let me forget this, but, and when they came to Boston, they asked me to speak at their Supernatural convention. And when Jared Padalecki introduced me, he reminded the entire audience that I was the most loyal fan ever. I'd been there since the beginning, and I predicted they wouldn't have a season 2. It was pretty obvious. But, so I'm not always right. But anyway, Supernatural season 7, I think this is what most people are afraid of using the Ouija board.
Of course. I'll need you to place your hands with me on the planchette. Maybe Danny didn't like the question.
Tell him to quit fooling around. He knows darn well that's my money.
Can you two stop squabbling? For Pete's sake, he's dead. Tell him we're sorry. Maybe if we're nice, he'll... Oh my God. Danny? What's going on?
I also hate when that happens because it's super messy and you have to clean all that stuff up. It's horrible. So again, how many people have heard stories that planchette moved by itself. They're told these stories, you know, we weren't even touching it. It was moved by itself. It flew off the board. Anyone ever hear that before? Okay, so, right, I hear this all the time. Now, I've never witnessed it. I witness it a lot in the movies. I've never seen it happen in person. So that's what I think most people are afraid of. They use the Ouija board, it gets out of control, it cuts their jugular and they bleed out. So now, what I want to show you is what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid that it's all true. That you use the Ouija board and you do talk to the other side. Because if that's true, I know what my sentence is going to be when I pass over. So this is what I'm afraid of.
So what are you doing? I got stuck with Ouija board duty. Graveyard shit.
That sucks, man.
Yeah. It's like, hey, who's in hell here?
Yeah. Hope you like slumber parties.
Don't get me started. Oh God, that's me. Let's see. Great. It's in Kansas. Fantastic. $10 says it's a bunch of little kids. Of course it's a bunch of little kids. Ouija board.
Well, I hope you're all studied up on who has crushes on who.
Yeah, very funny. All right, I gotta go. Burn it now. Burn it. Perfect. No, that's adorable.
Okay, hands on. Hands up, hands up.
Oh, spirits of other dimensions!
Yeah, what?
We have questions for your great wisdom!
Come on, spit it out.
Does Bobby Flanagan have a crush on me?
Come on! I'm a demon with previous powers, alright? You guys have me playing MASH in a rec room.
Here we go. Focus.
So I believe that if it's all real, that's going to be my job. I'm super afraid. Okay, so, you know, Ouija, the gateway drug. This went over really well. A couple weeks ago, I was in Denver, Colorado, where pot is legal. Everyone thought I was selling when I put this up here. So, Ouija, the gateway drug. I say this because the Ouija board seems to be some people's first experience with the paranormal. And so they start there. It's the first time they ever actively seek it out. Because when you use the Ouija board, you're trying to contact something, right? So doing it is on purpose. I mean, we've all heard things or had some experience, but this one, you're seeking it out. You want it, right? So it's an interesting thing. Now, for some people, spirit boards, talking boards, Ouija boards, they don't work. They're like, why won't it go? So you can use the Ouija board for lots of other things. And if you look on this picture, he's rolling a joint right here. So it's pretty cool. So where does this kind of all start? So you heard Brandon talk about before. In 1886, these talking boards leak out of the spiritualist community into pop culture. This article that gets spread all over the world by the Associated Press in London, Sydney, all over the US, including Baltimore, which is important.